we're going to do some Kung Fu fighting. Right? So keep your legs and your hands to yourself unless I tell you to karate chop the person next to you, which I won't do during this series. Right. Well, I'm pretty pumped. It's been a while since I've been in the front seat here, which has been cool, and I'm really looking forward to this series. And it's all about over the next kind of 9 to 12 weeks, we're going to be looking at a whole issue of self-defense. How to actually be prepared for any situation that comes up in your life, whether that's emotional, whether that's a physical response. And at the end of this series, we're bringing in some black belt guys and gals that are going to teach you some actual self-defense karate moves. So it's going to be a wonderful series.
My dojo.
Your dojo? Well, the dojo is going to be over the road. So that's where we're going to be. No, in our new building. So those of you online, get ready for a great series. We'll teach you some of this at home as well. As you can see on the wall here, we have a series of belts now.
Sorry, it's Mom.
And we're back. So we have a series of belts here. How many of you have ever stepped into a dojo, done some self-defense, pretended on your bed that you were karate masters? Give me a hand, right? Yeah. Yeah, Josh.
I'm pretty sure we would have.
How many of you have ever put on your pajamas and thought, gee, I look so karate? Right, yeah. Yeah, no, I had a set of those too. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I've done several rounds of self-defense in my life, and over the course of this series, I'll actually bring in what they call an Aikido outfit, which is the sword and samurai outfit, in which I was trained in for some years. So I'll show you some of those things. But the whole point of this series is to give you... Do I move out of camera all the time there? Sorry, mate. Just follow me. Catch me. Oh, I'm moving so quick. He's like lightning. So the whole series is going to be... Oh, sorry, sweetie. I hope I don't crush your phone there. All my glasses. The whole series is going to be about every week that we do this series, we're going to teach you a new self-defense process or thing that you can, a new move. Yeah, I like that. So tonight we're going to be talking about white belt. And what does that actually mean? How many of you have ever been in a situation as you're growing up and you've just been overwhelmed? Yeah? Cool. So that's nearly every hand in the room. So if you're at home and you're sitting next to somebody, put your hand up and go, that's you, man. So the challenge for us in life is that sometimes we can feel like we're overwhelmed and sometimes we get caught off guard. Have you ever been in that situation where, you might rock up? Is he being naughty with that Teddy?
No. When isn't he?
Look, he's got his red belt out. He's just pretending to be Kung Fu fighting. Too far? But you go home, you don't want to see what's happening. Calvin's Kung Fu fighting with his panda. So the challenge is, right... I'm in trouble. I'm so much in trouble, man. So the challenge, guys, for us is quite simply, if you've ever been in a situation that you've rocked up to, or you've turned up at a friend's place, or you've gone to school, and all of a sudden, just so no fair, and you've rocked up, and there's been this situation where you felt like anxiety, where you felt like you were afraid of what was about to happen because you didn't quite know the environment or what was going to happen. Anybody willing to tell me briefly one of those situations for you that happened? Yeah? Anyone?
Didn't know what happened.
Yeah, like you turned up in one of those situations where you felt freaked out, anxious. Could have been a new school, it could have been at a party. Yeah.
Well, moving classes. So basically, because I was at Mount Ev campus, I had to move to a completely different school, basically to Mooraba. And moving to a new school.
Yeah, moving school can be a massive space where you feel like you're overwhelmed with, are people going to like me? How do I meet new friends? Are they, and you just freeze at that point. Yeah, go.
When I started TAFE this year.
TAFE, right, so that's recent, yeah?
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about that. What happened?
Well, I haven't been to school in 3 years, so I haven't been in that scene, and I was really scared to make new friends, so I nearly just stayed in bed that morning. But then I ended up going. It was really good.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes fear blocks us. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I graduated primary school and moved on to high school.
Yeah. Going from being the biggest kid at school to now being the smallest kid on campus can sometimes be a bit like, I thought I had control, and now you're like, you're in the year 7, mate, go over there, you know, that kind of space, yeah?
Coming to BB for the first time because I was basically incapable of leaving the house beforehand.
Wow, that's so cool. You know, there are so many young people that come to Bridge Builders that feel that the minute they walk in.
I played the game that night and everything.
Yeah. So they can feel that social anxiety is massive with young people these days. Where they walk in, they feel there's too much, and they meet me and I'm too noisy. Yeah. And you know, so sometimes noise can be like a bit overwhelming for people. So they feel like, yeah, this is crazy. Was there hands here? Someone? Yeah, go.
Moving schools.
Hey?
Moving schools.
Moving schools is massive. Yeah, Ella. When you travelled overseas, now there's a biggie right there. It's like, yeah, let's just book a ticket. Hey, you know, sort of bomb, yeah. You went to London, so you got off the plane and went, okay then.
Oh, how do you get my hotel?
You don't know how to get to your hotel, and you don't speak the language.
Well, I do London.
Just tricking. We don't speak English, we speak Aussie. You know, so yeah. G'day, mate.
Going from my bachelor to a certificate.
Bachelor to certificate. So is that like going backwards? Is that what they say? So there was fear around that kind of stuff, like everybody's going to think I'm a failure. Or yeah, cool.
Having to go to your parents' house that you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, that's kind of freaked out, isn't it?
Like,
yeah.
Especially when you're like under 13.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a choice.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't change even how old you get, you know. So, yeah.
It doesn't.
Going to the retreat, not knowing anyone that's going to be there.
Yeah, the girls' retreat is a classic, isn't it? You know.
50 girls and I had no idea who any of them are, but I made some lovely friends.
Yeah, it's consistent year after year at the girls' retreat. That the girls that go on that, a lot of girls are hanging on to the door pillar of the car with the parents hanging on to the legs while they're in mid-air like that. Don't make me go! Isn't that right, you know? And then they rip the rubber off the car and they go, I'm still not going! Even though the rubber's in their hand and they're being shoved into the boot of the bus. No, it's not true, you know. So, no, we don't do that at home. We love kids. Yeah, just saying if there's any police out there. So, yeah.
Having to catch the public transport by yourself
Yeah.
to somewhere you've never been before, and it's a lot more crowded than you
Even trying for
Yeah, sometimes just going on public transport can freak people out. It's like there's too many people in a very claustrophobic coffin with a lot of people in it, and it's kind of, and they smell. So nice, yeah.
My first soccer game going back.
The first soccer game you ever rocked up at? Yeah, nice.
Going from a scout group that I'd been at for 9 years to a completely new, different one where I knew no one.
You knew no one. Do you ever walk in and their scout group, you get the badgy thing, don't you? Yeah? Right, do you walk in and do you strut it? Do you kind of walk in like that?
Kind
Go,
of. I've got a few now.
You got a few, yeah? That's what I do first. Get through the door. Before you even put your face through the door, put your arm in, you know? Start coming in, you know? Check it out. You guy? Yeah. Over their nose.
My first postie bike challenge, so that was my first.
Yeah. Postie bike challenge, freaking out. Like here we go, 2,000 kilometres on a postie bike. That alone was freaking out, yeah?
Being locked in a zombie apocalypse escape room.
Where even is it? Oh, escape room, right. A zombie
also happened
apocalypse
at
happened. Escape room. We've been in an escape room. Anyone been in a lift? Just saying?
Somebody farts and you're stuck in
Oh, I think we did more than, some of us followed through. So anyway, yeah. We're going to have to edit this.
It's long.
Yeah. Over here, anyone else? Got stories? Great. Yeah.
Meeting my new sister for the first time.
Yeah. And it's kind of what happens is your brain overproduces adrenaline, drops down into your stomach and gives you that vom feeling. Yeah.
I'm getting in contact with my stable number.
Yeah. Big stuff about, you know, that your self-defense, you've got no mechanism, you've got no defense about what's happening to you because you feel like you've gone into a situation and then there's nothing you can do about it. Go.
Start a new job.
Start of a new job. Yeah.
Because I moved from a place that was a pretty bad environment. Because it was in the same field, like of work. It was sort of a bit of a daunting task going from working at one place doing the same thing to another.
Yeah.
And then working with some different kind of people.
Isn't it amazing that what your workplace can be like? And even for some of you, you might be casual or part-time employed, and you go into that place and it's not really the healthiest environment, and sometimes you can feel a bit stuck on, well, I need the money, and I'll just smile and wave. And you really feel every moment that you get up and you have to go to work, you get that sense of anxiety. What am I in store for? What's in store for me today? What's going to happen to me today? What am I going to have to put up with in this environment? And so tonight I want to give you some white belt strategies around how you can stop those kind of feelings. The first thing you can do is breathe. Whenever you do martial arts, they teach you first to get what right? Breathing. What's the second thing they tell you? Your stance. That's exactly right. Now, if you've ever been in a situation where you felt threatened, what do you naturally do? Yeah, you kind of, first of all, you're freaking out. Well, the first thing you find is that you just naturally take a step back. Because all of a sudden this thing is coming at you, whatever this environment is, it's coming at you, you take a step back. So you have to stance. And the reason you do that, if you're not aware of what's happening to you, that's actually what you call a stability stance. So you're actually getting your footing. And do you know why you get your footing?
So don't fall over.
Because there's two responses at that point.
Fight or flight.
Fight or flight. Now, when I was growing up, I could run. You know, my legs were bigger than my arms, so it was good to run with those, you know. So running on my hands would have been weird, you know. I probably would have freaked out the people trying to attack me at that point, you know. Now you've got a funny image in your face, haven't you? You know. So the challenge is, and your face is on your head, you know. So, it's on your face. So, do I speak funny? So, the challenge is I figured I can run. I know how to run, Forrest. You know, so that's what I did. I actually, in the first circumstances, I ran. I thought, you know what, nothing's going to catch me. But then there were certain times which I could not run. I had to gain composure, and then there was moments in my life which, at the time, now I'm not into violence, I'm not anything like that, but there were times with the people I was hanging out with that was necessary for survival. Was violence, you know, was fighting, because there was no way out. I remember a time in the city, I was in there with a group of friends, there was 5 of us, and one of the chaps there decided that he would make fun of somebody else in the city. And what we didn't realise is that individual had 50 of their friends in that space that we were in. So there was 5 or 6 of us, and we soon found out there was 50 of them. And so we had nowhere to run, nowhere to go. And yes, I was very afraid, and it didn't matter. And I remember, still to this day, I was wearing moccasins. It was very classy in the day. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, so as I was wearing my moccasins with my trackies, right, you know, in the city, I was total boats, you know, and as I was in the city, I remember this situation so clearly. Now that was when I was probably 15 or 16 years old. I can still remember that same space, I can still remember that group of people coming towards me, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have to dig deep here. So I simply did this. I thought, you know what was the funny part? Is I tricked them. Yeah. So what I did is I kicked off my moccos, because I figured if I've got to run, I'm not running me moccos, I'll dive into the ground and they got me, you know. So I just kicked off my moccos, and you know what happened? These guys came around us, and it was about to be on, and I hear one of these guys say this to his mate: "Be careful of the guy with the no moccasins." You know? So then, you know what I did? I heard that, and I don't know, I might have been stupid, it might have been a moment of bravery, and I just went,
Yes!
and I stood there, and you know what happened?
You got something to face?
They run away.
No, we got the crap beaten out of us. So it did nothing, except at the moment, Coach gave me a moment of joy, you know. I thought, I got this. I couldn't get my foot up above my knee, so Father's kicking someone in the face wasn't even going to happen, you know. So the challenge is, guys, sometimes we are in situations where we need to have the stance of flight. So it's really important that any situation that you go into, even if you find yourself in a situation that is beyond your control, that the first thing you do is breathe, and the second thing you do is take a stance. Be ready for being able to move forward in that situation, or be ready to flight. Now, in this environment, not fight. In this environment, there are young people who come through the door here, who's, when they first come in, there's that moment of, I can't be here. Now imagine if whatever we do in this place, that was not real for that individual. That whatever we could do here to help young people, that we know that young people come here at times freaking out about this many people in one space. Imagine if we could embrace them in such a way that they felt safe enough to be here. So the white belt process, I want to take you through a couple of things, right? Is the first thing you want to probably try and understand is what you say when you're in those environments. What do you say when you're in those freaked out environments?
Oh shit.
Well, you could say that.
Usually,
yeah.
that's
Yeah. Internally, that's probably running 1,000 miles an hour. Yeah. What else?
Bye.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. See ya. Yeah. Sure. That could happen. Now, if you can't get away from that environment, what are some of the things you might say in that space?
Come at me, bro.
Come at me. Now, we're not talking about a violent situation. Sometimes it can just be changing schools,
Exactly.
right? We're not talking about punch on. We're talking about environments that you find yourself, you think, are people going to accept me at this point?
But come at me can still be related to that. You could be like, come at me to a situation.
Totally.
And it just gives you a sense of false courage
Yeah.
to help push you forward.
So, doing it afraid is what we might say
Yeah.
here. Yeah? Go.
I got this.
I got this. She stole yours. Well, it's not yours or yours. It's all of ours, right? It's I got this. So we talk about doing it afraid and I got this. If you tell yourself, come on, Ben. You what? Seek help.
You phone a friend.
Yeah, phone a friend. Yeah, there's all those, yeah?
Just breathe.
Just breathe. Just breathe. I got this. Do it afraid. So when you find yourself in a situation that might not necessarily be life-threatening, you take a stance first. So you breathe. Ready? Center yourself. Breathe. Yeah? And then you say, I got this. No matter what's happening to you at that point. Now, we aren't talking about situations where you might be in a really illegal situation, process. Something might be happening to you, all right? That's a different scenario. We're talking about your everyday kind of moment where you turn up, you need new friends, you're at a new school, you're going for a new job, you're in a job environment, and it's not healthy for you. I just want to give you some strategies. Is around the other thing you need to do is, what do you say, what comes out of your mouth at that point could help or not. The first thing you need to, the next thing you need to do is listen to what's being said to you. How many of you get something said to you and you misinterpret what's getting said, yeah? And you begin to freak out. Why did they say that? You know, what did they mean by that? Or you laugh it off, ha ha ha, and then you go away and go, oh, what did they really mean? And for some of you, you might message me, oh, the person that said that to you, you know. And I've said that many times to some of our guys here. I'll say something and then they'll text me later,
What did you mean?
what did you mean by what you said? Now, you know the awesome part about that is they actually had the courage, white belt, they actually had the courage to take a stance and ask, what did you mean by that? So the important thing for us to assess is not just what we're saying, but what is actually being said to us. Because sometimes, I want you to, for a minute, take your hand like this, put it out like this. All right? This is called your web hand, all right? So you're all Spider-Men's and women's at the moment, all right? You take this is your web hand, do this. All right? Do this. Now take it, put it, you at home, I want you to do it at home, it's going to be so funny, you're doing this at home. All right? Put this on your head. Does that feel good? Just massage your cranium right at that point. Oh my God, snooze time, right? So I want you to imagine that thing on your head is what we call your filter. So if you ever have filtered water, I have a filtered water system, and you pour a process of layers and it comes out cleaner. It still looks the same, but it's actually filtered out all of the bad things. So now what happens in your brain is when you hear something through these two little orifices on the side of your head, you actually hear this thing and it filters through your brain, and you interpret sometimes things that people are saying or the way that they are saying it in a different way that it was meant or that it was said, yeah? Have you ever misunderstood someone?
Yeah.
Have you got an example of so? Naomi, tell us your example.
Alright, so at a leadership meeting once, Phil said, I think it was something like, oh, I don't like you or something.
Trust.
Oh, something about trust, I can't remember.
Yeah, I said I don't trust you.
Yeah, and then I was like, yeah, you said it kind of seriously. So I went home and then messaged him. Nice.
So it's a beautiful scenario. Naomi said to me, we were talking about issues to do with what we struggle with, and I said, I don't trust people. Well, you know, and Naomi said, oh, so you don't trust me? I said, no, I don't trust you.
Don't worry, I love you.
It's resolved. Anyway, she had to clarify. Now, I was taking a bit of a joke, right, because I wanted to prove a point to Naomi. Now, Naomi looks after our dog. She comes to my house. She hangs out with me. So I had to reaffirm to her later. She said, do you really not trust me? And I went, I just went to her, if I did not trust you, boom, 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 laid all these things out. She went, oh. So the challenge for us guys is it's not what we say sometimes, it's how we hear what's being said to us.
It also comes down to delivery too.
Hang on, guys, he'll just flick you to
It
death.
also
Yeah.
comes down to delivery from the actual person.
Yeah. I've always said right through my life to my boys, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. How many of us get that right? Yeah, half a hand. You know, because it's sometimes when I say something to somebody, I've got a bit of a tone behind it. Have you ever said something to someone in jest but you actually meant a truth? Like you said it funny but you really meant something kind of diggy?
Yeah.
Yeah, the way we say it. Trust me, the human soul has the capacity to actually interpret that process of what you just said. They actually can only decipher what you meant in the joke, because later on, will they remember all of the joke?
No.
What do you remember? The little grab that was in there, eh? It's amazing. So, and the other thing I want to encourage you about is not only what is being said to you, but what do you see? I met a lady the other week, and she was a brain and eye specialist, professor, doctor in this space. And I shared this with the leaders the other night, is that when you are born, when you are conceived, and I want you to imagine this, here's your brain right now when you are conceived, all right? And your eyes actually grow out of your brain. They grow out from your brain. So your eyes actually don't do anything except take an image in, and your brain interprets that image. So sometimes what we see is being interpreted incorrectly. Yeah.
You also see upside down, but your brain flips it for you.
Yeah, there's sometimes I see upside down and my brain hasn't flipped it up, you know? And I figured, which way am I right now? I've had too many cordials. But the reality is that for, stay with me, what? And so the challenge is that for some of us, what we hear, what we say and what we see is distorted through our filter in our brain. So to get control of that, white belt, you have to first breathe and then stand. Take a stand on what am I feeling right now, what am I saying, what am I hearing, and what am I seeing. You have to practice this. If you've ever done levels of belts in any kind of martial arts, you have to practice these processes over and over and over in order to master the process before you can go to the next level. But what we do is we go, I've got this, you know, and we move over here and we start this friendship, this relationship, or this job, and we realise, I'm in that thing again. I'm in that situation again. Why is it, do you ever hear someone say, this always happens to me?
Yeah.
Deja vu.
Deja vu. Oh, they always do this to me. Who's they? And does it
Again.
always? Lady Luck is not so lucky. So, one of the other things I want you to do is that you do need to have what I would call an escape position. And that is, if you're in a situation that is really overwhelming for you, you might need to first have an escape position, somewhere to disappear, to get away from a situation. And they're probably more in serious situations. What do you do when you need to escape?
Run off.
Run, yeah, you do. And you might need to learn how to run. Often what happens is we get frozen with fear because we think we're out of control, or that this environment we've got no control in. Sometimes that happens, and we help young people through that process. So the other thing I want to just encourage you with is 4 things, right? 1, you have to practice discipline. Right? You have to practice these things over and over and over again. For you to go to the next level, man, by the time we get to black belt over the next sort of 8 to 12 weeks, you guys are going to be so, that you are going to just be masters, and you're actually going to have the capacity to help others. Have you ever been at school or in a situation where somebody's been picked on, or you're in an environment where they're picking on or taking or bagging someone, and you think, oh, geez, I should have said something. I wished I could have said something, but I was too afraid.
I usually say something.
Yeah,
but
and sometimes, that could be you, and that's well practiced. So you might be further up in the belts than others.
Yeah, I do take my phone.
But a lot of the time, what we do is we just go, oh yeah, that was awkward, wasn't it? So I want to encourage you guys in this process of this next few weeks. We've got a couple of weeks in between where we're going to interrupt some stuff. Because we've got Easter and some breaks and so forth in there, some long weekends. But guys, right at the start, if you feel like there are situations in your life that you get overwhelmed, that you feel like you're out of control, this is time to white belt up. This is time to white belt up, where we can actually begin to practice what we hear, what we see, what we say, and what is being said. Those 4 things, if you can understand those 4 things and practice those 4 things, I'm telling you, over the course of these next 9 to 12 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, you're going to feel so much more empowered in your world that you will take control of your world rather than you feeling like your world's taking control of you. Yeah.
Right behind you, there's a thing that has words on it. That is something that people need to consider.
Yeah, there's a white belt,
A black belt.
a black belt
Who you never quit.
who never quits.
I just thought people
So
should
guys,
know that.
I want to encourage you, and this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you something right here, right now. Would you like me to show you something
Yes,
that's very
please.
powerful for you?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it with Olivia. No, you stay right there. So Olivia, I just want to say to you, mate, I have watched you over the last 2 years just grow and become. There's no one else here except you and me, mate. And I've watched you. Calm. Remember what I said. And I've watched you over the last couple of years grow. I've watched you face fear. I've watched you try and avoid things. I've watched you run at times. And then I've watched you have fun at times. And there's just a soul in you that is absolutely outstanding to know. And I'm so privileged that you were chosen to come onto our leadership team and help influence this group of young people. There is so much, stay with me. There is so much in you to give. You know, there was a book that I just wrote in for you today, and it was all about you finding your rhythm, finding that sort of that moment where the song that's in your soul actually just flows out onto other people, other girls in this room and other guys in this room. I'm so excited that you're going to find your heart song this year with our team. We're going to have the privilege of that. You're an outstanding young lady, not because you're connected to anybody particular here, but because you are who you are. You're an amazing young woman to know. So the challenge for us guys is quite simply, as white belt, is quite simply in a situation. Imagine if you could just lift the soul of a person like this, where you could just encourage somebody, because it's not dorky. because it's not geezy, because it's not smart-assy, because it's not like, oh, you're trying to strut it. Imagine if you could be the person who could practice what it means to actually speak into the soul of another person, and a young person, encourage them and love them, and because you have no clue what their environment is right now, none. And yet you could just put aside all of your own fear, all of your own anxiety issues, and just look into the soul of a person and say, this one right here in front of me is amazing because of who they are, not because of what they do or what they give or what I can get from them, but just because they exist. They are amazing human beings. For some of you in this room, that's going to be a freak out. And for some of you, you wished I'd said that to you. Naomi? So guys, I want to encourage you right at the start of this series, let's be serious about this series, that every single one of you in this room could change the life of another person. You could come in here and you could be like all about you, but imagine if you came in here and you were all about someone else. Amazing, wouldn't it be? So, to wrap up our first night of a very cool series, you guys are going to be absolutely black belt proof. At the end of, if you could stick in here, I don't care whether what night it is, you've got dinner with the family, or no, work that one out, dinner with the family, the boyfriend or the girlfriend, you know, whatever it is, stick in for this series, because if you miss a belt, you might miss a really key thing on how it might change your life. And so we want every single one of you, and the guys at home, the guys that aren't here tonight, to know that we are going to help you develop self-defense, to be resilient as a person, to take a stand about your world and realise that you don't have to let your world happen to you. You can take your world for what it is, and you can influence other people. The only way to do that is for it not to always be about you. There's a time for you, and there's time for others. So when you go into your packs tonight, wonder if we could do one thing. You could practice white belting somebody tonight. I mean, don't white belt them like that, But when you're in your pack tonight, you have no idea who is in, and you can do this at home. You can look at your friends and your family that sit next to you tonight. And imagine if you could be this kind of person, that you could turn to the person on the couch right beside you and you can say to them how amazing they are right now. I want you to try it. It'll be a weird feeling, but it'll be empowering and amazing. Imagine if you're in your packs tonight and you see someone and they look like they're all smiling, but on the inside there's something else going on. And you know what? You just look at them and say, I just want to say how amazing you are tonight and why that is. Let's white belt it up. Let's get black belt.
Back changes.
Pack changes.
Round of applause for Phil! Excellent. We've just got a couple of really minor